In the world of homebrewing, and I would contend even professional brewing these days, there are a few folks whose contributions are ubiquitously viewed as being rather important, and one of those people is John Palmer. From writing what many view as the Homebrewer's Bible, otherwise known as How to Brew, among a handful of other educational books, to co-hosting podcasts and graciously volunteering his time to help people learn more about brewing and beer, John has been around for a long time, and he's left an indelible mark on the hobby and this industry. Just a couple months ago in November of 2025, John spent some time hanging out with patrons of Brülosophy and answering their questions. And as always, it was an excellent session, one that we are very excited to share with everybody today. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Patreon, which if you've listened to this show for any amount of time would be absolutely shocking, it's a really cool platform that allows us to keep bringing you this podcast every week. Those people who appreciate what we're doing enough to make a small monthly pledge are known as patrons, and in return for their support, we give them a little something extra as a way to say thanks. You can learn all about the various rewards we offer patrons over at patreon.com/Brülosophy. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it, except for to say that our two most popular levels of support are the $3 tier, which gets you an invitation to an occasional monthly live brew day or one of these Q&As, as well as the $5 tier that also gets you a discount or some other perk at YakimaValleyHops.com. Again, if you're at all interested in learning more about being an integral part of keeping us around, please head over to patreon.com/Brülosophy today. Another way you can help us out is by using the links found at Brülosophy.com/support. We're affiliated with most of the places people buy brewing stuff online, from Amazon, More Beer, and Great Fermentations. When you use those links, which you can also bookmark for future use, we get a very small commission that does help us to cover production costs. Finally, if you wouldn't mind letting us know what you think about this show by leaving a rating and review in Apple Podcast or wherever it is you listen to podcasts, that allows you to leave a review. We'd really appreciate that as well, on top of giving us an idea of what listeners think of how we're doing, which we absolutely take to heart. Those reviews also make it easier for people who may not have heard of the Brülosophy podcast yet to find the show. Feedback is brought to you by Clawhammer Supply, who are known for their awesome all-in-one electric brewing systems. I've brewed on both their 120 and 240 volt systems, and I'm telling you, they are legit, efficient, easy to use with a relatively small footprint. You will not be disappointed with one of these units. Plus, the guys behind the company run an amazing YouTube channel, which you can find by searching YouTube for Clawhammer Supply. If you're in the market for electric brewing gear, make sure to check out what Clawhammer Supply has to offer at clawhammersupply.com, and don't forget to let them know Brülosophy sent you when you're checking out. That's clawhammersupply.com. Listener and patron Nathan Hausch wrote in with some feedback after listening to our recent episode where I laid out some of the difficulties we've run into lately due to the downturn in the brewing industry. Nathan said, "First of all, thanks for your transparency." Well, you're welcome, Nathan. Brewing and homebrewing have gotten hit really hard over the past couple of years, and I appreciate how you've communicated and adjusted. As I'm thinking about the challenges at my work, someone said to me, quote, "A world without problems is a world without opportunity," end quote. Now, not entirely comforting, but it started me thinking about things differently. In the brewing world, one problem that I've been having is being able to source the ingredients that I want from my local homebrew store. One in particular is finding certain yeast strains from Imperial Yeast, Triple Double in particular. Maybe there's opportunity in helping brewers find the ingredients they're looking for. Well, Nathan, just real quick to touch on the ingredient issue, I think a part of that is because of the industry and you've got these yeast labs. Now, I don't work for any of them, so I can't speak, truth to this necessarily. But from my understanding, that they're trying to, they sell their stuff on prediction for the most part. And these homebrew shops have to buy based on their expectations for what they can sell. They don't want to be throwing ingredients. So Triple Double, absolutely, in my opinion, the best Belgian strain that Imperial Yeast has. It's a pretty lauded strain. People really love it, but that means when it hits the shelves, those hardcore Belgian brewers are probably picking it all up, concerned about what you're going through right now, not being able to access it. Now, again, thank you for your support on Patreon and for sharing that quote. I've certainly heard versions of it before, and I more or less agree with it. Unfortunately, with where we're at currently, rather than seeking new opportunities, I guess my focus is just on trying to maintain what it is that we've already got going. The way I see it, The industry should eventually self-correct. My hope is that that happens sooner than later, of course. So if we're able to keep things the way they are now without any major disruptions, then I'd hope it would make it easier for us to take advantage of any new opportunities that might arise once things do eventually improve. Now, of course, I might be wrong. Perhaps we're going to have to adapt even more before things start to look up. But from my perspective, it is sort of starting to feel like maybe things are leveling out. I don't want to jinx that. I mean, I don't get, when I looked at our Patreon data for December, for example, despite all the amazing people who committed to supporting us for the first time in the last couple of months, we still lost more patrons and thus revenue than we gained, which means that we're going down on that front. And that has been the case month over month for over the past year. We're small compared to others in the industry. I don't want that to come across as a complaint. It's kind of scary, don't get me wrong. But when you consider the size of some of these other people in the industry whose livelihoods are based off of that, we're just looking to cover our cost for the most part here. That's concerning to me. And so I get where they're coming from, and they've got to make bigger changes than we've got to make, It's just a really shitty situation that we're all in right now. And I appreciate the fact that we've got, somehow we figured out Patreon when we did, and we're able to keep going almost solely at this point because of Patreon. So I'm going to leave it at that. I feel like I've sort of beat a dead horse at this point. Just remember, if you love this hobby and you don't want to see it go the way of the dodo, now is definitely the time to be proactive about that love. So thanks again, Nathan. You and all of our patrons kick major ass. You are the reason we're here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If you have show feedback, you can send it to feedback@brulosophy.com or drop us a line on social media. New year, new you, right? Well, we're here to help out with that by offering some fresh merch. Whether you're after wearables like t-shirts, hoodies, and hats, or other stuff like tote bags and phone cases, we have got a ton of cool Brülosophy branded merch, which you can find at brulosophy.com/shop and then all you do is click an image on that page. It'll take you to our Dashery store. Then you can click the banner. That'll take you to all of the options you've got for our designs. Or you can go straight to our Dashery store at brulosophy.dashery.com. We've dropped a link in the description of this episode. We'll be right back with John Palmer's Q&A.
The new year means new health goals, not just for your body, but for your finances too. But did you know financial health is directly related to identity protection? You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that are outside of your control. It only takes one mistake, and not even your mistake, to expose you to identity theft and lost funds. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second and alerts you to threats you could miss on your own. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's US-based restoration specialist will fix it, backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. In fact, restoration is guaranteed or your subscription money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other financial losses from identity theft alone. Resolve to make identity, health, and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Visit lifelock.com/iHeart and save up to 40% your first year. That's 40% off at lifelock.com/iHeart. Terms apply.
We all know that designing recipes is really fun, and doing it well is so much easier with good software. We at Brülosophy recently made the switch to Brewfather, and honestly, y'all, we could not be happier. Brewfather utilizes the latest technology to bring you the most robust cloud-based recipe design software that can be accessed anywhere, on your phone, tablet, desktop, and even offline. It also works seamlessly with numerous third-party devices to make it easier to monitor every step of your brew. I know change can be difficult, but trust me when I say you need to go to brewfather.app today to try it out for yourself. That's brewfather.app.
The new year means new health goals, not just for your body, but for your finances too. But did you know financial health is directly related to identity protection? You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that are outside of your control. It only takes one mistake, and not even your mistake, to expose you to identity theft and lost funds. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second and alerts you to threats you could miss on your own. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's US-based restoration specialist will fix it, backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. In fact, restoration is guaranteed or your subscription money back. Don't face strained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other financial losses from identity theft alone. Resolve to make identity, health, and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Visit lifelock.com/iHeart and save up to 40% your first year. That's 40% off at lifelock.com/iHeart. Terms apply.
I was fortunate enough to meet the legend that is John Palmer many years ago, not long after I started Brülosophy, and since then we have maintained what I feel like is a really cool relationship. He's always been very supportive of Brülosophy, and one way he's shown that is by agreeing to hang out with our patrons and answer their questions. In fact, he's done it several times, the latest of which happened in November of 2025. All right, the great John Palmer, author of what I refer to as the Home Brewing Bible, is with us today. Thank you so much for joining us this in where I live, very chilly weekend, John. It's always good to have you on. I know our patrons are excited to ask you some questions.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Always happy to talk brewing on Saturday and ignore chores.
I feel that. Well, all we're going to do is kind of open up the chat for people to chime in and ask whatever questions they want. I'm going to stay in the background because I talk too much as it is. So Greg, Charles, Walter, Andy, feel free to pop in and start asking your questions. John, if you wouldn't mind sharing with us a little bit of your background. I think most people probably know, but tell us what you've been up to lately.
Well, lately, as I was telling Marshall, I've been planning on building the guitar. Because brewing has dominated my life for so long, I've needed other hobbies. So I'm trying to learn guitar late in life here, and I'm pretty good with the main riff from Smoke on the Water. That's about it.
Good, that's a good one. Dun dun dun.
I still screw it up, 4 out of 5 times, but
we all do. Yeah, that's normal. But well, cool. What have you been doing in brewing? You've been traveling as much as you used to prior to COVID?
Yeah. No, not as much. But I have been on some really cool trips this year. I judged Aero Rojo. Had a great time there. That's in Monterrey, Mexico. And then about 2 months ago, was invited down to Sao Paulo, Brazil, and they had a beer commercial brewers and classes event sponsored by InBev down there, and so we were at their little brewing school, and I gave 3-4 presentations, and had a good time down there. Then a month later, I was in Bangkok, Thailand for the Southeast Asia Brewers Conference. Did the keynote address there, which was pretty intimidating, but it went well. Saw a bunch of our friends there, and then also this summer I was invited out to Omaha, Nebraska, or Lincoln, Nebraska, and went to the homebrew store there, Patriot Homebrew Supply, and did several classes. So I got to hang out with a bunch of brewers from Nebraska for a weekend. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I see that we've got quite a few people who have joined now, so don't be shy, guys. If you have a question for John, I'm sure you do. Eric, I know that you're going to ask questions, buddy. So open forum. Go for it.
What are you trying to say, Marshall?
You did great. You basically hosted the last one with Julia, which I thought was wonderful.
Oh. I've been hesitant to listen to it because I'm like, just listening to yourself can be weird. I know you must have gotten over that, but
you have to get over it. Yeah, John knows that very well. Yeah. So, but take it away, guys. Yeah, ask whatever questions you want.
Yeah, well, I had a quick one. You mentioned traveling internationally and stuff. You know how people have, everyone's talking about how there's kind of a downturn in beer in America and things like that, and sort of a kind of a drifting away from, I guess, what maybe was peak beer. I don't know. Are you seeing that same thing sort of internationally, or are
to some
peaks
extent,
and valleys different?
Yeah, the peaks and valleys are different. To a large extent, craft beer is still on the upswing everywhere else. or especially I guess outside of the UK and Australia. Um, so yeah, I mean, new breweries are starting, home brewers are turning pro. They're still on the upward part of that curve, and their brewing is top notch. This one the benefit of the internet is everybody has ready access to information, and people are traveling a lot, so they're be able to try beers, and they're not kind of brewing blindly like we did when we started out. So yeah, I mean it's nice to see that it's still growing in the rest of the world.
Yeah, it's interesting to see who's really, surviving. And, just about everyone you talk to, they notice it. But I was at Sly Fox in Pennsylvania recently, and I happened to, I guess they were celebrating it, happened to be celebrating their 30th anniversary, and I met the guys who started it just by total chance.
Oh,
And they showed me their operation. It was really cool. I mean, everything, all their beers, I mean, they were definitely going for the not doing weird, like, presenting a lot of styles. I mean, they had a lot more lagers than you usually see. They had,
hmm
the hazies and the West Coast IPAs were kind of almost token. I was like, yeah, I mean, that's cool. Like,
yeah,
do a few of them right, and there you go. But
yeah,
anyway, I had a whole flight, and it all looked like a bunch of little Kolsch glasses full of golden whatever. But what was good about it was everyone that I tried, even the stouts, whatever, I'd have another. And
yeah,
so I think
yeah,
they really worked hard, I think, on getting that, model to work. And I think that's a testament to why they last so long, rather than, I don't know, places I can think of near me that did a lot of wacky stuff. And they
yeah.
became known for wacky stuff, and maybe that's not what everyone want to drink. Like how many horseradish beers are you going to drink?
Right.
Maybe none. But
Yeah.
I'll shut up
There's
now.
no, you bring up a good point. When I talk about the what is it, the cycle of home brewing, first you start out with the classic style, then you go to something strong, and then something sour, and then something spiced and barrel aged, and finally come back full circle to those classic styles again.
Well,
And I think
I'll have you know, I'm circling back to Palmer's Porter as my
oh,
next beer.
very nice. Very nice. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot to be said for the drinkability of a lot of lager beers, light lagers and dunkels and so on. And certainly it's nice to see, a craft brewer, um, you know, uh, having a top-notch Pilsner or Kolsch on tap full time, because yeah, their customers recognize that it's a very drinkable beer. Um, the other side of the coin is there's a local brewery here in Los Angeles area that their business model is every beer is different, and it's a
Hmm.
different hazy, different IPA. I mean, literally, just a tweak of the gravity, different hops, hazy, non-hazy, da, 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 and they come up with very creative names for them, and great artwork for the cans. But yeah, they say our customers always want something different, so we
Hmm.
always give them something different. It's really kind of the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting.
Cool. The shiny new thing.
Yeah. Anyone?
John,
Anyone?
Greg John
Yes.
here. So the question I've got is how much of the downturn do you think is just industry kind of will eventually come full circle? Because as I recall, in the late 90s, we similarly had the same kind of downturn. I remember talking with, humble brag, George Fix about this 100 years ago.
Yep.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I think the pressure is slightly different, or maybe just say greater. I think the late '90s we had a downturn because brewing was seen as a get rich quick gimmick. Ooh, craft, and yeah, all you got to do to open a brewery is buy the equipment and start brewing. And a lot of those breweries didn't last long because A, the population wasn't educated to craft beer, and B, they weren't very good at it. In a lot of cases, be started up by an investment group kind of thing. Um, Now I think what we're seeing a lot of market pressure on alternative beverages. You know, the you all know what's out there: hard seltzers, hard lemonade, and a lot of these beverages are really good. So there, and talking to today's young person, like my 20-year-old kids and so on, there's no mystique for them about drinking beer at the pub. It's they don't have that sense of you know that's the place they want to hang out and go there. They're they're not going out to nightclubs like we used to for happy hour and you know to meet people. They're meeting people online. They're just doing the restaurant thing um, and having whatever beverage sounds the easiest and tastiest, and it's something like fruit flavored as opposed to a beer. Yeah, so I think the pressures are a little different today. There's much more alternative beverages. There's a different uh, outlook to drinking beer in today's young adults from when we were at that age. Um, but I think we will see consolidations, and the one thing that's been going on for like the last 20 years now really is old brewers are retiring. They've been a craft brewer for 20, 30 years, and it's time to retire and pass the business on to someone else. And if they can't, if they're having trouble, they get bought out, and or they get a really good offer, and get bought out. And it's regrettable from a consumer's point of view, but from a personal, business point of view, it's like good job, man, you made it. So yeah, there's a lot of market pressures hitting brewers these days.
And John, this is Tom Sills. One of the things about home brewing that I've not heard mentioned a whole lot of is I used to have a lot of home brewing events at my house.
Hmm.
When the electric systems came out, the circuitry in my house wouldn't account for 5 or 6 different uh,
Yeah,
Brazillas.
right.
So it became difficult to have any kind of group event unless you were doing a 10 or 20 gallon boil.
Yeah, yeah. Even so, yeah, you're right. It's a lot of juice. Yeah, we used to have our homebrew club used to have club brews. And yeah, everybody would bring their propane burner over and so on. But as you say, with the transition to electric, and I'm brewing electric these days as well. Um, that yeah, if anybody wants to buy a full Blickman Tower of Power, 20-gallon system, let me know. Um, but yeah, you're right. That's one aspect that has also changed. Yeah, I think the AHA is hopefully going to find its feet here in the next year or two. They were, kind of adrift for a while. Um, Drew Beecham just lives next town over from me. We've talked from time to time, and so they are trying to revitalize it. And now that they're no longer bound to the BA, they have a little more freedom to organize, homebrew cons and so on and regional, events. So hopefully we'll see a little bit more flexibility and a little bit more activity, um, across the country as regional homebrew events and so on, which hopefully attract more people.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the social aspect is what drew me into it, and the beer is what's keeping me in it. But the social
Yeah,
aspect kept going.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I went to the Southern California Homebrew Fest this year again, and hadn't been in a couple of years. But miserable weekend. It was kind of cloudy and rainy. Um, Gotta pick our weekend better. But still a really fun event. Um, Not as many participants as some previous years. Um, and aging population, aging precipitation, but um, still great, really great time. Hopefully more clubs around the country will get together and do those sort of things because I think that's where you can really have a great weekend.
New England Homebrew Jamboree weekend after Labor Day every year. Come on up.
Oh, nice. Weekend after Labor Day. Labor Day. Okay,
It's always in New Hampshire.
nice. Yeah, that'd be a good time to do it. Ours is usually Cinco de Mayo weekend, and it's May. You'd think, oh yeah, it's great weekend, but could be kind of cool.
I went to the Southern California Festival, saw you there. And it was the first time I've ever been to that. And the comparison between that and the one in New Hampshire is like, kind of the whole ethos of brew free or die. Like it's a lot less structured. We didn't have, they don't have like, that meeting with they have to have with the ABC there,
Oh,
that before they can pour. That's
yeah,
like, I was like, what? It was kind of fun. They shows funny videos, but of drunk
yeah,
people. But there's no hard ending. There's no hard beginning. It just kind of happens, sort of
yeah,
like Woodstock. It's like, and everyone
yeah,
camps out. But
yeah. Ours,
it's
ours,
a good time.
ours used to be a lot less structured than it is now.
Uh,
California, has
if that's what it takes to keep it going, that's great.
yeah, yeah,
I remember when I first joined the AHA, they had the homebrew rallies, I think they called them, at some of the breweries around here. So I remember going to
yeah,
Stone and Mission and stuff, and I missed those.
yeah, yeah. Me too. Yeah, fortunately with my travels, I get to do a lot of this sort of thing in other countries, which is always a nice time. Oh, here's a question. Let's see. What is your opinion of co-fermentation in a Belgian Trappist style ale, meaning primary with Belgian yeast and then conditioning with a more aggressive yeast like Kveik? Okay, well that's uh, yeah, it's very similar to the bottle conditioning, with a lager yeast kind of um, a situation that a lot of us used to do. Um, yeah, I the the bottle conditioning, you're typically not getting a whole lot of fermentation that's going to really change flavors much. Um, so yeah, I typically recommend just adding more of the same strain or um, like a lager yeast that can ferment simple sugars quickly and cleanly. Um, Kvike is good. Trouble is, I think with Kvike, you're starting to get a kind of a different or potentially different sugar profile, and so you could end up overcarbonating um, uh, potentially, depending on which one you use. What about introducing it earlier after 42 hours? Oh, yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, it depends on what you're trying to do I mean, with the more aggressive yeast. If you're really trying to dry out the beer, then um, you know, uh, I think a lager yeast is probably a safer bet than Kvike. And I wouldn't do a Brett bottle conditioning unless you really have a lot of experience doing that because a Brett yeast would definitely start eating more of the dextrins, and you would have a potential for exploding bottles. Trying to shorten conditioning time in the bottle. Okay. Well then, yeah, I can see why a Kvike would be attractive in that regard. Um, hmm. But the thing is, for bottle conditioning, you're conditioning that at like room temp, cellar temp, which is actually be cold for a Kvike. So I think that's why a lager strain, or like 3470, for example, where that room temperature conditioning would seem warm to a lager yeast and encourage its activity more quickly, and to get that bottle conditioning done more quickly would be advantageous. Hope that helps. Let's see. Yep. Yeah, cold quake would suppress esters too. Yeah. But not, I wouldn't, yeah, like I said, you're only fermenting like 2 or 3 gravity points, so I wouldn't expect a lot of change of character of the beer. Okay, next we have from Dustin, made a hazy and pressure transferred. Okay. Very meticulous about avoiding oxidation from the tank. The aroma and flavor is amazing, but after kegging, I seem to lose that aroma and flavor. Haven't tested pH yet. Um, are you purging your keg before you fill? Or are you like, you keeping all the oxygen out with either CO2 purge or displacing uh, uh, CO2 in the tank? Fill the starch tank. Okay, transferring to CO2. Huh. The star sand may be a factor. I wouldn't be surprised if you're getting oxidation of hop character from residual star sand. That could be if you're just pushing the star sand out. What I do is I sanitize the star sand in the keg, then I upend the keg and let it drain, and then purge with CO2 by running the CO2 down the beer tube instead of the gas side, and let that run under low pressure for a couple minutes with the lid vented, then switch over and start filling. And that seems to do pretty well for me. Excuse me, the dog. Maggie, no, I'm busy. I'm busy. Sorry. There's a squirrel outside.
I have a question that's kind of a good follow on to that, because I'm drinking a hazy right now, and I like it. It's pretty good, and I'm hesitant to keep messing with it and potentially ruin it. But it was if I the question is if I had one and I don't know if it lost aroma, because I transfer the same as Dustin was talking about. I actually never do what you said, and it's an interesting thing to try. But I don't know. The aroma on what I have and what I was thinking of doing was the flavor is good, especially like retronasal is really good, but the right on the nose, it's like I think it's my hop choice. I guess I got a like kind of the overripe passion fruit thing, which is great, but it's like kind of like say, well, what if I wanted to kind of get back to a more citrus kind of thing? And I'm thinking like sort of subsequent add-ons when it's already conditioned, and you're thinking about that. Is it too late? I mean, I was wondering about messing with abstracts or something like that, like a post thing. Is anything you've Say I wanted to say, I wish I
hop
used some
oils.
Citra. You know,
Yeah.
what could I do? You know?
Yeah, a lot of the hop extracts and hop oils available today are really good for that. Um, they're pretty potent. What's the one? Yeah, abstracts, I think, yeah, is the
Yeah, I was thinking of
one
that.
brand. Um, yeah,
Ooh,
I've
Spectrum
had
and Incognito. Here we go. Yeah.
there you go. Yep.
Yeah, I might try that. I don't know. I might just maybe the next time. I just,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I was just curious about that. Like, I was on the fence because now I actually don't really know how much I have because it's in the keg. I'm like,
Yeah.
guess start slow and I don't know.
Yeah.
Risk
Yeah.
oxidizing it while I'm trying to add this shit. That's what I worry about.
Yeah.
But you know, if I got something drinkable and I like it, maybe I'll just stick with it. I don't know.
True. True. Let's see here. Where do you like to have your hazy pH level after kegging? Yeah, dry hopping, whirlpool hopping, dry hopping can tend to raise final beer pH, 4.6, 4.7 if you're not careful. So acidifying with a little bit of lactic or phosphoric, a milliliter or two will often bring that pH back down to more of the 4.2 range. And yeah, for a hazy where you're looking for that juicy kind of character and mouthfeel, a little lower beer pH is nice. It also helps preserve some of that hop character. I think that you tend to lose at a higher pH. You're more prone to oxidation, I think. Uh, Previous question about the session and Bruce Strong. Yeah. Though your spin-off Bruce Strong is back. I well, yeah. Do I think I'm going to rejoin Bruce Strong? No, and not for any real reasons other than I just never see those guys anymore. I'm at the other end of the state from them, so it's not like um, I think about it and like I'm happy to do beer podcasts like this one and so on. Um, it's just, yeah, I just haven't had much contact with them in the last 5-10 years. Um, the reason I left Bruce Strong was simply because it seemed we were just retreading all the same emails, and that we really weren't doing anything new. We weren't getting many new questions coming in. I just like, let's not keep trying to ride this dead horse. Let's reinvent ourselves and do something different, or let's just move on. And Jamil decided that he still wanted to do it, and he brought in some other guests, and I think it worked well. Myself, I was busy. That was around COVID and stuff. And I was still traveling a lot, every other week kind of thing, and busy with other beer activities. So it was getting harder and harder to find time where both of us were available to record some shows. Um, so I think it was a great time. Jamil's a great friend, but it was just time to try it right off and try something new. So yeah, if we come up with a new idea or something, yeah, it could happen again.
The new year means new health goals, not just for your body, but for your finances too. But did you know financial health is directly related to identity protection. You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that are outside of your control. It only takes one mistake, and not even your mistake, to expose you to identity theft and lost funds. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second and alerts you to threats you could miss on your own. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's US-based restoration specialist will fix it, backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. In fact, restoration is guaranteed or your subscription money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other financial losses from identity theft alone. Resolve to make identity, health, and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Visit lifelock.com/iHeart and save up to 40% your first year. That's 40% off at lifelock.com/iHeart. Terms apply.
There's no denying that stainless steel is the best material for brewing equipment, and Delta Brewing Systems offers some of the lowest prices on high-quality stainless gear, like the Firm Tank, which in addition to holding 8 gallons or 30 liters of work, comes with a domed lid to even further reduce the chances of a messy blow-off. Plus, it can hold up to 4 psi of pressure for closed transfers. Delta Brewing Systems also has their own line of brew kettles, as well as one of the lowest-priced all-in-one electric brewing systems out there, and their prices are shockingly low. If you're in the market for legit stainless gear that won't break the bank, do yourself a favor and head over to deltabrewingsystems.com today.
The new year means new health goals, not just for your body, but for your finances too. But did you know financial health is directly related to identity protection? You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that are outside of your control. It only takes one mistake, and not even your mistake, to expose you to identity theft and lost funds. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second and alerts you to threats you could miss on your own. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's US-based restoration specialist will fix it, backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. In fact, restoration is guaranteed or your subscription money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other financial losses from identity theft alone. Resolve to make identity, health, and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Visit lifelock.com/iHeart and save up to 40% your first year. That's 40% off at lifelock.com/iHeart. Terms apply.
John, I have a quick question about rice lager. It seems like that's a trendy style now. I want to get your take on what makes a rice lager. What defines a beer as a rice lager? Like Budweiser uses rice, and that doesn't seem like it doesn't come to mind when I think of rice lager. So.
Yeah, any adjunct lager. The key is that you want to brew a better adjunct lager. You want to incorporate that starch into the mash so that you get a maltose result, as opposed to just adding sugar syrup, glucose syrup. And you can readily find corn syrup and rice syrup, glucose syrups. It's hard to find a maltose heavy rice syrup. So whether you use rice or corn, depending on how refined they are, you're not really getting much flavor out of the rice or corn. Although my friends at El Segundo Brewing here in LA, they do a rice lager using a wild rice, red rice, I think it is. Maybe it's blue. That, and you can taste some rice character in that beer. So, it's proportions and, but, generally looking like 20, 30, maybe even 30%. But that's what you have to do is you have to grind it, cook it, and then introduce it to the mash. So, it's fully gelatinized, but then you put it in the mash and with tons of rice hulls and get that all to convert to maltose. And then you get a very good, clean tasting beer out of it. Gotta click new messages here.
Do you think a rice lager just has rice and malt in it? Is there any like hop or ABV guidelines do you think also contribute to it?
I really don't have a picture of a style in mind other than, say, American premium adjunct lager kind of thing. So, 4.5 ABV um, is what I'm kind of picturing. You know, you could do a cream ale, you could do a cold IPA, which is essentially a cream ale hopped to IPA levels, and brewed to IPA levels. So, yeah, and a cream ale is either a corn adjunct or a rice adjunct lager or a warm lager. So, uh, yeah, whatever you'd like to do in terms of yeast choice, hop choice. Um, I for that kind of beer, for a adjunct lager kind of thing, I like the American Noble hops a lot. Um, my friend Pete used to brew Pete's Wicked Lager, which was made with Liberty hops, and that Liberty is kind of hard to find these days. But boy, I just thought that was like the perfect flavor in a hop, in a kind of a noble uh, light lager kind of hop back in the day.
What other American Noble hops hops would you characterize as that?
Well, Crystal is pretty close. Mount Hood. Um, but yeah, I think Crystal is probably closest to Liberty. Um, I'd have to go back and dig in my notes and see for sure.
Is Sterling in that American Noble category?
It's not exactly in there, but it, it's more of a, I think, ale hop than a lager hop necessarily, potentially, but certainly it can be used. Yeah, I haven't used it in a long time. Let's see. Uh, Greg John says, I'm lazy or thrifty and I'm thinking of buying 500 grams dry yeast, breaking it down. Have I had an experience doing that? What to watch out for? Vacuum sealing. Yeah, if, I think vacuum sealing is the real trick where you want to prevent oxidation or humidity really from degrading the yeast. So yeah, if you break up a brick and quickly vacuum seal it in smaller packages and then put it back in the fridge, yeah, you should be good for quite a long time. Let's see. Here's a Dustin next about brewery recommendations in LA. Yeah, there's the brewery I was mentioning earlier, the one that does different hazies and IPAs all the time. They're called Paperback Brewing, and they're up here in Glendale. And you can find their stuff in stores, like Whole Foods. They carry them. Um, they make a lot of really good beers. They do a Italian Pilsner called Capiche that won silver or gold in World Beer Cup for Pilsner a couple 3 years ago. So that's a great Pilsner. Um, so that's one would definitely be worth looking for. Um, Other breweries, um, gosh, El Segundo is always doing good stuff. My friends there, and there's Beechwood. There's a lot of breweries in the LA area now. Green Cheek in Orange County is a great one. Yeah, going to the Whole Foods, just kind of scouring the shelves there is a great way to find a lot of these without having to drive, for a couple hours in every direction. Let's see. The next, Jed asks about a Belgian low gravity IPA. what kind of hops would used to play nicely with Belgian yeast? Unfortunately, Jed, I am not a Belgian beer person. I don't like phenol flavors, so I rarely taste the Belgian IPAs and so on. What kind of hops would play nicely with Belgian yeast? Yeah, you might go with a complementary, spicy type hop. Something like, what do we, Tettnanger, or a Saaz, or what's a new one? So many of today's hops tend to be fruity rather than spicy. I think Aramis might have
Or a
a bit of a
Saphir, or a what's the French
Saphir. That would
one?
be a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Saphir, or the Vinny really likes one of these French ones, for I forgot the name of it, for his STS, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Barb Rouge,
Yeah.
maybe. I remember
Um,
you, John. You had a recipe for in the AHA Big Brew Day one time. And it was a saison, and it was like I couldn't find like Aramis and Barb Rouge. What the hell are these things?
yeah. Yeah. Barbarouge.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if
That's the other one.
that's in that category.
Yep. Yeah. They tend to have berry flavors. So I was just seeing if my hop book was laying here. Thought it was here the other day. Ah, there it is. Dun, dun, dun. Barbarouge. Europe. Saphir. Yeah, Saphir, spicy, citrus, berry, and currant, herbal. Guys, well, Barbarouge, berry, and that one's berry, currant, and citrus. So that one's, more fruity. Aurora, a Slovenian hop, is said to be citrus and spicy. So that'd probably be a good one.
You know what these hop suppliers should do is they should do a reverse search. Like you bring up the spider diagram and you draw in what you want, and then it's like you have it make recommendations. That'd be super cool.
That is a great idea. Yeah, you could probably do that really easy with some of the AI engines.
Yeah,
now.
it's just pump it through an AI and it's just like, whatever.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, Liberty. Yep. YVH, American Hallertau Mittelfrüh. Yeah. I really like that hop. Jed, you're saying how I spell what? The Barbarouge or which
I think
hop
it
were
was
you?
Saphir, I think.
Saphir, that's Saphir. Okay. Any beer styles achieving a renewal of interest in contrast IPAs? Brown ales, yeah, that's always one that's often left field for many people. It's always great to find a brown ale on tap. Um, Irish Stout, I think, is another just kind of low key style, but it's a style that I always kind of search out when I'm trying a new brewery, and often it's really good. Um, I guess it's a style that old brewers like us appreciate, and um, you don't see it on a younger brewer's palate very often in their portfolio. But yeah, I think that's stout. Yeah, there's so many stouts these days in the BJCP guidelines. It's crazy. But yeah, just a nice dry Irish stout, I think, is one that I think we just see more and more. Lager styles are still popping up. You'll see seasonal bocks and dunkels. Dunkel has always been my kind of uh, go-to as far as underappreciated style that um, I think more people are going to rediscover. Um, yeah, I don't want to start drifting off on tangents and forget other questions. I can relate one of my home brewing stories from this year. I was brewing my Dunkelbach, which, if I haven't told you about it before, it's one of my favorite homebrew recipes, and it's 60% Vienna malt, 30% Munich 10 malt, 8% Cara or a caramel 90, 80, 90, somewhere in there, and then 2% roast barley. And the 2% roast barley is very important, but you don't want to go 3%, and you don't want to do black patent or Paraffa. It's roast barley. But yeah, that's one of my favorite beers, and I was brewing it this past summer, um, and really excited to taste it, and take the keg to a neighborhood event. Tried it, and my friends were like, "Oh yeah, this is really good," and I'm getting this weird aftertaste, very citrusy, floral kind of aftertaste, and it's like I only did, a 30-minute Mount Hood edition, or sorry, a 60-minute Mount Hood edition for about 30 IBUs. So where is this strange citrus floral aftertaste coming from? I realized that when I sanitized my keg, I grabbed the wrong spray bottle, and I grabbed a spray bottle that had Tide in it rather than Star San.
Oh man.
So this whole keg of really nice Dunkelbach was strange, fruity aftertaste. And
So if I want that, I could just take one of those Tide Pods and dump it in the keg.
yeah, yeah. Oh, it was tragic. Am I working
You know
on
what?
a new book?
You said how much? You said 60% Vienna and how much Munich? That's
30%.
like 30. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
like roasted barley and what else?
8% caramel 80, 90.
Cool. Yeah,
And
that sounds awesome.
then 2% roast barley. Yeah. 30 at 1065, 30 IBUs. Yeah, and I've used 3470. I've used German lager yeast. I used Kveik Voss one time, and that worked out really well. The little hint of orange peel in the Kveik Voss with
Well, that
that
sounds
grain
awesome.
bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Have you played around with any of like the Kveik isolates, like Lutra, stuff like that?
I really
This-
haven't. I
this-
should, but
It's
yeah.
it's impressive. I mean, I was messing around with it because I knew somebody who was making really clean lagers with it, and I'd that's been sort of elusive with some of the Kveik things, like even though they said that.
Mhm.
I tried Lutra, and I think I made like 3 or 4 batches over the course, and I found 85%. If I did it just room temperature, I'd get this weird long malto trios, I think, like
Mhm.
ferment that just would take forever at the end. So it would like rip through it, and then I'd have another like 2 weeks of like bloop, bloop. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, when are you gonna be done? But 85 degrees ambient, and it on a in a like a little chamber,
Yeah.
and it probably was 90 internal. It was awesome. It was like,
Yeah.
and I'd have that thing. Yeah, yeah, okay. I probably could have drank it in a week, but I conditioned it for about, so in 2 weeks I had like beer for a party, It was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I did it when I brewed it. Like I used a firm wrap around the fermenter, and kept it right at 90, and fermented great, tasted great, very clean. just that hint of orange peel, which is beautiful.
Yeah, you get that little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody just asked a question about a new book. Where did I put that? Here it is. This is my latest book. Oops. Focus. Oh well. It's called How to
Is the blur feature. Is the blur
Yeah.
feature, John?
How to Brew Beer in Your Kitchen. I published it through Camera in the UK, and it's a distillation of how to brew. It is intended for beginners. Brew in a bag, 2.5 gallon batch size, no sparge on the stove. Um, you know, just a quick and easy, a short book to get people started brewing. Um, Unfortunately, the printed word is really on the going out these days. I mean, nobody reads anymore. Um, for people that want to learn to brew beer, they want YouTube or TikTok at 2 minutes. So I tried to sell this book because I wrote it back during COVID. I tried to sell it to the Brewers publications, and they didn't want it. They just said, "Yeah, we don't think we'll make money with it. We're concerned it'll cut into how to brew sales." And it's like, well, it's a gateway book to gateway drug to how to brew. So, but yeah, they didn't want it. So that's the most recent one.
I hear, like, I remember a conversation with our friend Denny Kahn, who was they're like, oh, what's a favorite beginner book, and he's just like, go for how to brew, blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, well, if you're gonna go headlong in it like you would want to, yeah, but it's a bit daunting. I mean, for the same reason, like, yeah, you got to read, you go through, it's got everything. I mean, it's great, but the gateway book, I think it's a great idea,
Yeah. Now, hopefully, I have a Spanish publisher for it too, and hopefully that'll publish in the next 6 months. And that's going to be, in Mexico, South America. So hopefully that'll do well there. Question here says, in brewing classic styles, you and Jamil seem to be trying to remind all of us that we can still make great beer with malt extract. Is there a story behind that? Yeah. And do you still brew extract recipes very often? Unfortunately, I don't. My local homebrew shops have kind of dried up around here. The nearest one, I think, is probably 2 hours away. So yeah, I don't brew with extracts much anymore. But the reason we wrote that from an extract and steeping grain point of view was at that time, in 2005, 2006, homebrew shops were still going strong, but homebrew shop owners told me that I was moving people too quickly to all grain, and that they didn't have the profit margin on grain that they did on extract. And they said, so if you can keep people, and weekend brewers, if you can keep them interested in extract, that's better profitability for us as a shop. So that's one reason we focused brewing classic styles on the extract and steeping grain, is in addition to the all grain that both Jamil and I usually did.
I love that book, and I was like sort of the opposite of a lot of people now. They say like, oh, I brewed a few batches, went right to all grain, but you hear that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm the exact opposite. I did extract brews occasionally, the weekend here and there, once in a while, up until from 89 to 2011. I mean, it was like I had extract in my head, and when I saw styles, it's like that's like so good because it was where my thought process was. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I heard there tales of an update to that book, but I go there. That's like a go-to for me.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like to start on a recipe, even if it's an all grain recipe, I'll go there a lot.
Yeah, Jamil should do an update to that. He really doesn't need me to update it because I mean they're all his recipes. I just wrote the beginning part and the end part, the technique stuff. So yeah, and we've talked about it. It's just a matter of doing it. And like I said, the book market has really declined. Um, I mean, I don't mind telling you that I used to make, um, 50,000 a year in book royalties. Last year I made 5. So it's, book sales have dramatically declined in the last 10 years, and especially since COVID. So um, I know that the Brewers publications really weren't, they kind of put out a letter to those of us in the industry that they really weren't accepting many new manuscripts because they just weren't seeing the sales to publish as many books as they used to. So it. I think the future of publishing may be entirely online rather than print. Jed mentions pseudo pills with Lutra fermented at 20C, and okay, good. Yeah, I wonder. I mean, they've made a lot of tailorings to the Kvite yeast strains, like an Omega and what's the other one? Imperial. I think they've tweaked the genetics a bit to make them a little more cold tolerant. And some very clean yeast. Question about homebrew clubs from Walter. Popularity homebrew club has dropped off. My club membership is also down. Do I know of any clubs that are rocking it past a decade or this in the past decade? What's the secret to their success? The Falcons, the Maltose Falcons here in LA is still going pretty strong. They've got, you got to have you got to almost have a homebrew shop that will sponsor you and serve as that nexus for keeping people coming in and brewing together on the weekends and stuff. And with the decline in the hobby and the decline in homebrew shops closing all over, it's hard to keep a club going. So I think the secret though is that you need a good population and a shop that the populate a region that can support a local shop like that to really keep it going. John, were you going to say something? Or?
That Kansas City club that keeps winning, at Homer or kept winning at HomerCon. That's got to be a pretty big club.
Yeah.
They're like pretty top. They got a good chunk of people there.
Yeah. I haven't been there in 10, 15 years now, but so it definitely was a very vibrant club. Yeah,
Do you still get new members, like younger members? It seems like our club is people that joined or started homebrewing 10 or so years ago, and we're trying to find new people interested in the hobby. It's been a struggle.
Yeah, and that's what I hear from everyone, that you'll have 1 or 2 new members that'll be in their 20s, say, but typically a new member is more like early 30s. And when I was over at Patriot Homebrew Supply in Nebraska, they had Air Force personnel that were they were the young brewers coming in. But 30 was about as young as it got.
And why are there so many old computer geeks into this? I never understood it. I mean, I'm one, but it's like
Yeah.
I never understood. Like I know why I got into it, but like maybe it's the
Well,
same.
yeah.
I don't know. It's like like kind of a maker spirit, but I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the key part of it. A lot of us brewers are, weekend do-it-yourselfers, whether it's building things for equipment or, creating something in the kitchen, barbecue, smoking turkeys, what have you. Um, Engineers, computer people that, think nothing of whipping up a spreadsheet to, create a recipe. It's part of what I enjoy about it. So, yeah.
Well, John, we're coming up on the end of the hour here. I want to
Oh,
express our massive thanks for you coming on again and taking time on your Saturday to chat with us for a bit.
anytime. Anytime.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. And I'll tell you, to kind of go with what you guys were talking about, I do the same thing. I was doing stretch and folds on a loaf of sourdough as we were getting this started. So, and you're building a guitar, and
Yeah.
I pretend to write songs, of course, but I do think that there's something to be said about, people who like to get their knuckles deep in certain hobbies. And I often wonder how we can tap other hobbies and pull people over to this one. But I'm hopeful. We'll see an increase soon.
Yeah. I think the weekend get together or the Saturday get together at the homebrew shop or at a club, friends house at the club in the club works best. Certainly, I mean, I really enjoy those days.
Yeah, and I miss them. They used to be far different than they are today. But again, thank you so much. I don't want to take up much more of your time.
Thanks, John.
If anybody has,
Thank you.
Thank you. If anybody has any last questions, now's your opportunity. Otherwise, John, have an awesome weekend, man.
Thank you. Thank you too.
Thank you, John.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you, Marshall.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure. All right. Yep. Oh, you can always email me at john@howtobrew.com if you think of another question later. Cheers,
Do
guys.
you think you're going to go to Jamboree? Homebrew Jamboree was just announced in Nashville.
Oh, I'll try.
I mean, not the Homebrew Jamboree, but the National Homebrew Conference.
Yeah, I probably will try to go to that. Yeah, got to see how schedules and everything work out. But yeah, I'll check that out. Okay, cheers.
Huge thanks to John Palmer for yet again setting aside an hour of his very busy life to kick it with us. I speak for our patrons and everyone on the Brülosophy crew when I say that we immensely appreciate John's contributions to this hobby and his willingness to hang out with us as often as he does. If you're interested in having the opportunity to participate in these events in the future, head over to patreon.com/Brülosophy and make your pledge today so that you can be rewarded for your support, all while knowing that you are the reason that we're able to keep doing this. Don't forget to check out the amazing brewing content Martin is creating over at The Brülosophy Show, which you can subscribe to at youtube.com/@The Show. That's the @ symbol followed by The Brülosophy Show with no umlaut. And remember to head over to Brülosophy.com to stay current on everything we are up to. The Brülosophy podcast is made possible by the generous support of our sponsors as well as all of our rad listeners. We seriously could not do this without you. Cheers to everyone who has subscribed and left a review of our show. It makes a huge difference. If you haven't yet, please consider doing so. Head over to Brülosophy.com/support to view a list of ways you can easily help us to continue producing this podcast. If you want a reward for your support, visit patreon.com/Brülosophy. Thanks again for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Brülosophy podcast. Until then, think beer.
Start off the morning with some hot tea, lemon and honey cause it soothes my throat. Put some herb in the bowl, yeah, it's homegrown. Ain't gotta go through